Hey, everybody, welcome to this week's Fateless podcast episode. Joining me from the team is going to be Sham and Simon. And then our special guest for this episode is going to be Samail, YouTube channel Samail Raid. Good to have you. Go ahead and let everybody know kind of what you do, a little bit about yourself, and all that good stuff.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I've been watching this podcast basically from the beginning, so
Oh.
very happy to be part of this
Welcome.
this podcast. So thank you for inviting me. And yeah, so as Brad said, I've been doing Raid content for more than 4 years now, and I've been playing Raid for almost 6 years, so quite a long time. And I'm from Poland, so I'm at the beginning. I'm the biggest content creator from Poland right now, but trying to promote other guys because we have some good guys here. And yeah, I've been basically gamer since I was 9, and I got my first computer, Commodore 64, and since then
Nice.
it just pulled me in.
Commodore 64, baby.
Yeah, I got and made basically PC gamer. I had a brief adventure with consoles, but it was long time ago when I had Mega Drive from my cousin. But yeah,
What's your jam then, Samal? What's some of your favorite games, over the years?
I always say that, well, the first biggest game that made huge impression on me was back in the days, Sid Meier's Pirates.
Okay. Yeah.
I could play that games for days.
Okay.
Then when I moved to
As soon as you said Sid Meier's, I was like, oh, okay, he's going to say Civilization, but
No, it's Pirates. Let's go.
Yeah, nice.
Yeah, because Pirates was on Commodore. The Civilization, I don't believe so. I played
No.
Civilization when I had my first PC, so
Sure.
sometime later. But then I really like RPG games, strategy RPG games. So I don't know if you know that game, Shining Force. That was on Mega Drive.
Oh, nice. Shining Force. Let's go.
Yeah, that was a great game. So I've played it for months.
Yeah.
First,
I replayed Shining Force several times. It's such a good game.
Yeah, I still have it on my phone now. So I just
Cool.
play it from time to time. Yeah. And then when I got my first PC, then the world of games just opened and I could just play more games. So then I explored some strategy games or FPS game, shooters and so on. So yeah. But now basically I play RPG, action, adventure games, strategies. Yeah.
That's awesome, man. And so actually, this is an interesting. I don't really have an understanding of like how it is in different regions. Like, were you playing those games in English or in always in English?
It was in English because back in the days you couldn't find games in Polish. None of them were translated. So one of my main tools for playing games was English dictionary. So always
really?
my computer. Yeah, I started learning English when I was the second year in primary school, so quite early. Yeah, so I had my dictionary and I had to have it next to my computer to understand what's going on in the game.
That's some dedication.
How does that compare now? So I know obviously we're going to talk about some of the localization and how I guess different games deal with regions now. But for you now, is it generally everything is translated and any sort of game, mobile game or PC game you've got could just be in Polish?
So if it comes to PC games, usually it's the UI is translated and there's like subtitles for the game. Sometimes you can find like a full localization, but well, it was better a couple years ago. Now it's getting a bit worse.
They got lazy again.
Oh, maybe not lazy, but money is the problem, right?
Yeah.
So it's expensive to get a full localization. So now it's more often it's just the subtitles and all the text is translated. If it comes to mobile games, I don't recall any of them having Polish language.
Yeah, so is there basically no expectation then for you guys? Like, I mean, it sounded like you mentioned earlier before we started the call that you have an English a strong English background, I guess, right? You studied it, but for the general population in Poland, is it expected? Like, would it be like, yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, so actually the question I get the most is, will there ever be Polish language in Raid?
Wow.
So people want to get Polish language there. So already people asked me in the comments when I asked, and I told my viewers that I will be here. First question: ask if there will be Polish language in Godforge. So yeah, there are expectations.
Okay. I mean, how many? So yeah. And how many other streamers do you think that like you said, you're kind of like doing some grassroots movements, trying to get things rolling? How many other streamers would you say are in Poland? Like how big is the interest level? Is it like, all right, you got like 10 guys or super excited, or is it like, ooh, this is a, you know what I mean?
For Godforge or just generally?
No, for Raid, for your main channel.
Oh, for Raid, currently we have I know 5 guys that are doing this.
Okay, wow, that's awesome.
Yeah. So and one of other guys is also doing content on Godforge.
Just out of interest, do you? I guess, do you do fully Polish content all the time, or do you subtitle that then into into other languages, or are you like, no, I'm just gonna basically look after my region?
Yeah, so from the beginning I was doing my content in Polish and it's fully in Polish.
Yeah.
But there's an option to turn on the English subtitles, because back in the day that it wasn't translated. Now it is.
No, sure.
So yeah, so I've switched on the translation so you can have
And do you look at your demographics and see whether that starts to attract different audiences for you? I'm just curious.
Yeah, no, it didn't. So it's
Didn't know.
like, well, actually, so most of my viewers come from Poland, but from some people from Czech Republic,
Okay.
some Ukrainian guys, because we know there are a lot of Ukrainian people in Poland, so they also watch my content. And then I think Polish people in other countries. I think UK is the second largest viewership, and then
Yeah.
Germany, but Polish people, not other.
Something
Yeah, sure.
something I'd be curious to get your perspective on is like, how big of a deal is it in terms of being a deal breaker on whether you will play a game or somebody in Poland will play a game? Do you think it's something like if like Poland isn't, or Polish isn't in the game, is that like lots of people will be like, screw that, I'm not trying it? Or is it just something that is like people wish they had, but it's like, okay, most people understand English good enough? Like, how, being from America, I can't really relate to what that would be like from your perspective.
So if it comes to mobile games, I think we're at this point pretty used that there's no Polish language in those games, so it's not a big of a deal. And I know that some people that play Raid like don't speak English at all, and they often come to me, try to explain how this works.
Help me out. Help me understand this thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, but or we have a lot of some Facebook groups or something where we just people asking questions, so it's a bit different. But if it comes to PC games, yeah, that could be a problem. Then people can just ignore a game if there's no Polish
Yeah.
at least Polish subtitles, because like in those cases, like we have Polish subtitle, at least Polish subtitles all the time. So I think it was a big deal when last Resident Evil was released, and the Capcom said that there will be no Polish subtitles. That was a big deal.
Especially when something's like a story-based game. It's something like a Resident Evil single player story-based game. Like if you can't follow the story, then you're losing so much of what the immersion is, right? So it's actually something we've been talking about recently and working on. So for us, we're going to have obviously some story, and that's going to be voice acted. We probably are not going to have a number of different translations of that voice acting, again, due to what you said earlier. Actually, just the cost is really expensive to have these voice acting sessions done at a professional level. We absolutely will do subtitles. I guess we've not looked at exactly what regions that is. I don't know, Sham, if we've got like a breakdown of what that looks like right now, but there's obviously so many different potentials. Yeah, go on.
Yeah, no, definitely. So we have kind of a breakdown of like the standard ones that you do, right? You've got but Polish, I have to be honest, like wasn't one of the ones that was on the radar. But I will say that one of the nice things about what's happened for translation, I guess, or localization, is that it's gotten much cheaper. So it actually kind of surprises me that they wouldn't do like basically, just for some understanding of how you have to do it. You have to build build it into your UI. You have to make localization essentially like part of the code base, and then you take all the information for every line that you have in your game, and then you need to make sure that then you basically have there's 2 steps to it. There's just like localization, so there's the translation of it, and then there's basically like a LQA, right? So then someone goes in and goes, okay, yeah, this not only is translated correctly, but it actually feels
actually
like
translates.
What it meant, what you were meaning to say as well. And so now there's like that first layer can be done really quickly, much more quickly, right? Especially if you have and some feedback I've gotten from other founders is, hey, you should find some people in your community that can help with that process. And that's something that obviously, if you've got, that's why I asked, if you've got some people that are interested, that will be part of our, like, we could say, hey, we've got this community of people that are interested in getting this translated. Let's do it. Let's make it happen. Like, let's make it, something that you guys can be a part of. Like, we're very community led, and this would just be the next layer of that type of thing.
Yeah.
So,
one of the things that people,
sure.
Yeah, one of the things that people don't always appreciate is the UI stuff. So yeah, we were looking at, okay, well, here's our space for a word. And then suddenly it was like, well, hold on, let's change this to German. And you need like 5 times the space for the same, it's literally like crazy how much more space you need. So all of those things are a massive impact when you're trying to get that quality of life of a game. You can't build to adapt the UI for language. You have to make sure the UI will fit the different languages that would come in. So, that puts some sort of roadblocks on you in terms of, what is possible and what is not. But other than that, I think it's then a case of, how much resource have we got that we can put against something?
How much interest is there, right?
Yeah, how much interest. We know that our initial launch phase is going to be predominantly English speaking regions or areas that at least have got a good understanding of English, because again, it's our first title, we're a new studio, and we don't have endless pits of money. It's just not a thing. So we do have to make quite conscious decisions on these things. But yeah, it's interesting to hear like how other games that you play try and deal with this already, or not. In fairness, it's yeah, I guess because again, there could be so many. So, go on, Brad.
Yeah, I like how Sham mentioned how, you also have the challenges of, the direct translation is not always, how that language would word it properly. And, on this topic, there's that most famous meme. Yeah, you're all probably familiar with it, where they translated it poorly and the phrase became "all your base are belong to us."
Yeah.
So it's like, we don't want to end up like that, where it's like our story becomes a meme because it's translated so poorly.
It is a legendary meme. So I wouldn't be that sad because that translation's so funny. But we don't want it to be like, we're saying something about someone's mom somehow or whatever it is, right? We don't want to accidentally translate. So yeah, the LQA is super important, and like that's where I think, if we have an interested community of people, and maybe somehow you've got a direct line to this group, yeah, we would be happy to, to do something like that, assuming that we can overcome those 2 barriers that kind of Simon mentioned, like, because it's time and it's time and it's like impact is really what it is, right? Like, because if there's only going to be a small group of people that are going to be interested in having it, and let's even say some of them are like, whatever, I would just read it in English anyway. Well, then no impact, right? But if it's like this big group that's really interested, and they're also interested in specifically having it in Polish in this example, then yeah, let's do it. Let's make it happen. So
So I'm working on making that group bigger and
yeah,
bigger.
let's go. No, I'm just kidding.
So if there would be Polish language in Godforge, that would be huge thing for Polish for my viewers and for Polish players, because as I said, that's very uncommon to find the Polish language in mobile game.
Are there other kind of differences? I mean, other than just language that you notice, like in your audience in the versus like maybe some of the English speaking audience? Like, are there some preferences that you can think of that feel different, that are particular to Poland? Maybe
No,
pretty similar.
no, we're just regular players, and apart from language, no, we're just looking for the same things as other people.
What about when it comes to the mythologies within the game? So, obviously we're trying to accommodate lots of regions, real diverse groups of heroes. I guess the closest one to Poland directly, I guess, would be Slavic and surrounding. It's not necessarily just directly Slavic, but Slavic and kind of like mythologies around that region. So I guess, is there some excitement around that, or is there particular, I don't know, deities that you would love to see that would be reflected really well from your region?
Yeah. Also, from the beginning, I was just trying to get some information if there will be a Slavic faction in your game. I remember
Which there will. Yeah.
Yeah. I remember I was asking this question on one of your streams, and just Sav said that it was on the table, but he didn't say anything else. So I was just okay. At least they were talking about it.
Yeah.
But then when you released information that there will be a Slavic faction, I was like, yeah, that's good. So I just made a video about it straight away, and yeah, the reception was very good. So people are
cool.
excited. Uh,
Were there any big ones where people were like, "Oh, I really hope they have this character, or this god, or this legend," or you know what I mean?
Yeah. So when I thought about it, first thing that came to my mind was I would like to see Witcher in your game, but I know it's not.
Or
It's
just
not
directly The Witcher.
yeah, it's not possible. You don't own the IP.
I
but
mean, we tried, man. We
Never
tried.
say never. Never say never. Hang on. Never say never.
in the future, when you will be big and a successful game, then you can collab with CD Projekt Red.
Yeah.
Those guys.
Just
Your
for reference, I think the I've got the list here of the ones we've talked about publicly from
Please,
the
yeah, thank you.
from the Slavic faction is going to be Baba Yaga, Dracula, Koshchei, Perun, Belobog, and Magura, Maria Marevna, and Volkodlak.
Good. So yeah, so I recognize some names. So Baba Yaga it's not only popular in Poland but in other countries. But yeah, that's what I know. But
We've not shown the model for Baba Yaga yet, I don't think.
So
And
We have not. Nope. Just the
it
name.
is honestly so fucking cool. It's
it's so
fucking
good.
cool. It's so good. It's up there as one of my top 3, I'd say, at least. Like, it's really, really good. Yeah. People are gonna be all over that. We actually
we went in so many different
upgraded
directions
her.
with it too.
We upgraded from epic to legendary after we'd built the model, because we were like, we cannot put that as an epic. It's too good. Upgrade the kit. So yeah.
I'll be waiting for Friday leaks to see.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure, man. I'll share it to you first.
Is there any that I didn't talk about that would come to your mind? Like, oh, you guys didn't say this one, and that would be a super big deal to get in the game. Was there anything that popped in your head?
Yeah, so I was thinking about we have this legend. It's about kind of founding fathers of 3 Slavic nations. So it's a legend about Lech, Czech, and Rus. So they were 3 princes. They each of them ruled their own tribe.
Okay.
And according to legend, they lived somewhere in the southern Europe around Croatia. Although there are different versions of this legend. So at some point, they struggled with lack of food, and they had to find a new place to stay. So they wandered north, took all the tribes, went north, and first Rus found a good place to stay, and he founded the three nations of Russia, Belarus, and Ukrainians. He was the oldest of the brothers. So then the second one was Czech. So once the two brothers went further north and is to the west, so Czech found a good place to stay. Then the Lech, founder of Poland, went up north, found like a sign. So a big eagle came from the sky, and he saw it on the during the sunset. So we decided that's the sign, and he stayed in there and founded our first capital, Gniezno. So like
Okay.
so yeah, Lech, Czech, and Rus, like founding fathers for three big Slavic nations. I think that would be nice.
Sounds like a cool event we could do.
Yeah, would we have like certain obviously would have come in with cool abilities and stuff? Would there be like certain powers or strengths that you think that they would bring?
I didn't think about it. So what they could be? Well, they could be, one of them could be like the oldest one, Rus, could be a fierce warrior. So then the Czech one, I think he could be, well, Czechs are famous for their beverages, so he could do something
True.
with buffing people to be more powerful.
Buff. Okay. Yeah, like that.
And that Lech from Poland, he could be a wise guy. So
Like a wise guy, as in a
wise and
as in
wizard,
a
or-
wise guy,
yeah.
or like he's sassy.
well, if wise, so he could be like a wizard or something, yeah, something like that. So to have some the powerful spells.
Yeah. What's your go-to in RPGs? Like, what type of class would you normally play, or do
Yeah.
you enjoy most, in this sort of game?
I always play a knight or a warrior with
Okay.
sword and a shield. So yeah,
Oh.
that's my
Oh,
type.
you're sword and board. So you're tank.
Yeah, sort of, yeah.
You want to you
Like
want
the
everybody
front
to
line.
be looking at your back and be confident is what the
Yeah,
is the
In the front line, doing the damage. Yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
So you're a World of Warcraft tank is what you're saying then.
Well, I know like
Arms
World of
warrior.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, but yeah, I prefer just in melee battle than doing it from the back.
But from a protection end, or from like because I heard dealing the damage, right? But
damage from damage.
Okay, yeah. Like I said, arms warrior. I think you're right. It's just an arms warrior charging in.
Yeah. So I'm curious. Obviously, we've got our alpha due pretty soon. Going into the depths of the caverns. Firstly, are you in the mix for that? And are there others in your community that are kind of like looking forward to that, hyped for that, or throwing questions at you for that?
Yeah, well, straight away when you said that you can sign up for beta, I just did it straight away. So
Good
I can't
man.
wait. Can't wait to get the game in my hands and play a bit.
Yeah.
Yeah, and every time I do a Godforge video, I always just tell people, here's the link. Go and subscribe to be in the beta. So actually, people are waiting for those, and they already have a lot of questions if I will be covering it on my channel, showing how the game looks like. So yeah, there's quite a big hype for the game. Not all people. Some are very, well, I would say, reserved.
Sure, yeah.
Yeah, but it's always like that.
And again, until we've got even not the alpha, until we've got our game actually released, where everything's polished up and we've got all the different gameplay modes and that type of thing, I think a lot of people will stay reserved. So that's down to us to pull something together, which is awesome and fresh, and all of those things. So, but it's good. It's interesting to hear it's going into different communities, and a number of people signing up for it and are keen to sort of at least give it a go.
Yeah, I always say to people, like, they say, "Oh, it doesn't look as good as I thought it would." I was just wait. They are just making the game. It's in a production. Wait for full release, or at least
Give us that polish time. Like it's coming. Don't worry, guys.
This is the trouble. What we're doing is quite unique. to show people from such an early point, this is us building a game. And because people don't really ever see it, their assumption is, well, this game looks, or this part looks bad, but we can go from 1 week to the next. And I'm like, wow, this screen has just moved on, like 10 times. And I guess as someone who's involved in the mix of it, originally when I first saw the screen, I was like, oh, that looks pretty cool. That looks pretty good. You see a new one, you're like, God, that old screen looked terrible compared to this. So,
Well,
and
then when you get into 3D, you get into 3D and you start talking about like, the shaders are in, but it's like you start to light things properly. You start to add the VFX. You polish up the, any of the little small things in animations, which is obviously on the roadmap and stuff like that. It's like, yeah, all these things will come together that are like multiplicative to make things look much, much better all at once. But yeah, it's like brutal in some ways, but it's great because getting that feedback now and getting to like notice things along the way and people getting to like check it out early. I think it's fun for everybody. You know what I mean? Like I think people have kind of like embraced it and appreciate it. So it sounds like your community or parts of your community are, get that, and other parts of it are like, you know what, I'll wait for the final product. And both sides are fair, to be honest. Like not everybody has to be all like forgiving in these stages. Just know that we know too, it's coming. Yeah. One other question I wanted to ask you about localization before we kind of wrap things up. Are there any like pet peeves that you have when you have seen games that are localized into Polish? Like, have you seen a game where you're like, man, they always do this thing, which is totally wrong, or they're always like are there any, and it could be a phrase, it could be that they don't allow enough space, it could be whatever you can kind of think of. Is there anything that is a pet peeve for Polish, I guess, specifically?
Well, I think that the quality of localization for the games is really good. So we have really good experts. Recently, AI starts to be more and more used, and some of games released recently, well, when I played them, you can easily see where AI was used, and there was like no one that then just checked that the text and
No QA, right? No LQA.
yeah, exactly. So in that case, like you can clearly see. So if you use AI, that's the problem. But apart from that, well, actually, Polish language is quite complicated. We have a lot of like you can take one verb or noun, and you can have like multiple versions with different suffixes of the word. So that can be challenging to translate, to find the correct version of that word. So yeah, I think that, but usually it's
But
done.
in general, it mostly works. So that's good. That basically tells me that, unlike, as you mentioned, German, we probably won't have too many issues with that specific, like, okay, well, this is supposed to say, armor, but it says like, I don't want to try to do a German accent or something, but it says something much longer that doesn't work.
Although there are no such problems in Polish language, so apart from the suffixes, no, you won't have such issues.
Okay. Well, nice. Well, Brad, you want to wrap us out? I think
we kind of got our question we like to close out on. You already gave us an amazing breakdown of some heroes to consider. So Samel, it's been a blast to hear from you and get to touch base, and we appreciate you joining us. Was there anything you wanted to make sure and ask while you were here that your community had a question about, or anything before we wrap up?
Well, so I want to ask if there will be other languages than English when you at the beginning of the game, when you release the full version. I'm not talking about alpha, but the full release.
100%. Yeah. So definitely. And I guess, as we mentioned, so the consideration for what languages we do is going to be about what regions we're releasing into and when. And then, basically, if the more specific question is Polish, we haven't answered that question for ourselves quite yet, but I think that it's in the cards. We've got a good content creator sitting right here that's that's interested and has a community. So like I would say that especially because of what you just mentioned, because of AI and because that can allow for quick initial translation, that's really the only big thing. It's like organizing the initial translation and then getting LQA to do a final pass on it. And so, assuming we can get that organized, and there's interest and there's impact, yeah, why not, right? But we're definitely doing it in other languages that we know that we're going into regions where it's kind of required. So, yeah, that's for short. Yes.
Cool.
Great.
Okay.
Out of
Go ahead.
curiosity, how expensive is to introduce a language into a game like Godforge?
Well, so a lot of it is on the number of words that are translated, and then how expensive that region's translators are. So it's tough to answer that question like exactly, but it's and then if you didn't already do the work for building a translation system, then obviously building that's already been done, or is I don't say done. We have a localization system that's built in for our buttons and for our dialogues and stuff like that. So all of the framework is all there. There's no extra cost there. It's really just you add another key, which is the different language that you can switch the game into, and then you have to do that initial pass on the translation, and then you have to do the LQA, and those are really the only things. And
I guess the other thing on top of that though is because we're a live service game or a live ops game,
it's multiplicative. Yeah,
it doesn't stop. So it's if you think about a PC game that's coming out and it's literally that is the full game, they'll do those passes of all of the localization, all of the cost is up front and it's finished, and then it's a case of right now I sell my product in all these different regions.
Yeah.
Whereas with us, let's say we've got 20 languages or regions to make sure that we accommodate with every patch that we release, every new champion we release, all of those things. It's just it's then okay. Well,
it's an added cost for everything.
It's added cost, but it's almost worse than when you're trying to do like a bulk of localization. So when we do the whole game, it's like, okay, well, we're going to charge you this much per word or per hour or whatever it's going to be. When it's like, okay, we just actually need to come back and do these small pieces, they end up charging a lot more per unit for that, because it's like, well, I still need to spend a day on this or 2 days on this or whatever it is. So it's almost like a hidden cost going forward if you try and do too many. And it's a bit like don't try and make a game for everyone. Make a game that your community or your group are going to really love. And for us, it's similar with language, really. Don't try and be the game for every region. Maybe we grow into that, but we do need to know like where those potential fan groups are going to be, and make sure that we really try and deliver on that as best we can. So
that impact, exactly. I think it's that's a really big point too, because but yeah, and again, that can be offset by a passionate community. So if there's a lot of people that are really interested and they want to be, and they want to come in and make it so that it's, and this is pretty common actually. We have a place for you in the Discord channel, and we can talk through how those types of things could work, assuming that we have, again, there's interest and there's impact in doing it. So yeah, man.
Yeah, Samel, great questions, great topics, and thanks for sharing your perspective and bringing some of the questions from your community as well. And on behalf of Sham and Simon and the Fateless crew, that'll do it for this episode of the Fateless podcast, going on here with Samel as a special guest. And we will link to his channel down below. Definitely check out that content over there. And we will link to the Discord and all the good stuff included for you to help leave your input and opinions on Godforge as we continue to develop. So cheers, everybody. Have a good one. Thanks for watching.